This agent has completely changed the VCT meta in 2024. By now, you can probably guess that I'm talking about Gekko. Gekko was only picked in 4% of games last year, but he appeared in 33% of all games at Masters Madrid, and the top 3 teams have all adopted him on one map or another. Gekko completely changes what's possible, and teams both playing with and against Gekko have to adjust the way they play as a result. I think it's pretty safe to say that Lil Bro deserves a part of that Masters Madrid trophy. So where did this Gekko pick even come from? Why is it so effective? And how are teams on both sides of the equation changing their strategies to play around him? In this video, we'll be answering all those questions and more by looking at real VCT scenarios and using a little bit of data as always.
An absolutely filthy spray transfer as Lakia.
Thanks to Exit Lag for sponsoring this video. If you experience issues with high ping or general performance when playing Valorant, Exit Lag could be the solution for you. Exit Lag is a performance optimization software that could help you unlock the full potential of your gaming experience by not only lowering your ping, but potentially boosting your FPS as well. It works by optimizing your connection using smart routing technology, which ensures the fastest possible routes to game servers that your ISP doesn't even care to optimize. Their FPS boost feature helps tweak certain settings on your system that may be preventing you from getting the maximum possible performance. Getting set up is super easy. Just visit the link in the description, sign up, and download the client. When you open up the client, you'll see a huge list of games that they support. Make sure that the servers you select are the same ones that you want to play on in Valorant. And that's it. If you sign up before April 15th, Exit Lag has an anniversary deal offering 1 month free if you sign up for 2, as well as an annual discount and the chance to win an ROG ally or $100 Steam cards. Thanks again to them for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to how Gekko is completely changing the VCT meta. Gekko started to really gain attention at the start of the season because of the big nerfs to Sky's bird, which is no longer rechargeable, as well as her dog, which is now easier to kill and harder to control. Now don't get me wrong, Gekko and Sky are very different in many ways, but there's one major similarity between old Sky and new Gekko that all pro teams want, and that's the ability to gain free information. Sky's rechargeable bird means that you could always gain free information at the start of rounds, and then still be able to have a flash for the late round retakes or post plans. Gekko's Dizzy is arguably better at this, considering you can throw it every 10 seconds compared to Sky's flash, which took about 40 seconds to recharge. Here's a clip from the Sentinels vs NRG match, where Sassy throws Dizzy in mid at the start of the round. This gets shot down instantly, but all Sentinels have to do is wait 10 seconds to throw it again, and this completely breaks apart NRG's setup to hold mid. It's much easier to punish players caught by Dizzy compared to the Sky Flash, because if Dizzy activates, it reveals exact enemy locations. Now this seems pretty strong, but nothing game changing, because it's really easy to shoot down. However, when Dizzy pairs with a traditional flash, it's a whole different story. Remember the Reyna Sky combo from Paper X, where you're checkmated into getting flash no matter what? Well, comboing normal flashes with Dizzy is arguably even better. We also first saw this run by Paper X when they had to use CGRS as a sub at Masters Tokyo. Here's a clip of them doing the combo on Bind, where they 4-man push down long at the beginning of the round. They aren't able to catch anyone, but you can see that Finesse doesn't really have any choice but to give up long control. When you have such dominating priority over a portion of the map, good IGLs should be able to transition this into long-term advantages for your team. During Sentinel's run, they were abusing this combo for so many of their trap plays. On Sunset especially, their playbook involved this combo across the map. You can see that they really liked the double flash combo to take control of A main, but they also showed this B main trap where they throw Dizzy and KO flash through their own Omen smoke. We saw them use it in this match against NRG, but they also tried against Paper X during their Masters Madrid lower final. This round is an eco round for Sentinels, so it's a decent round to run this type of play, but that also makes it pretty readable. You can see that Paper X are cautious because it's an eco and probably did their research, so they don't actually get caught out by this play. However, John Cutie knows exactly how to build on this in a future round. Take note how when they ran this play, they threw a KO knife into A main while the rest of Sentinels were pushing B main. Now later on in the match, Sentinels throw the same KO knife towards A, then drop the same smoke in B main. But this was all to distract Paper X away from their mid pushers. Now Paper X are wasting their time spamming through the smoke and worried about the same type of trap play, while Sentinels have already walked up behind them. This catches Paper X completely off guard, and they kill 2 players, essentially winning the round. That pressure from their B main trap that they ran rounds earlier, which didn't even get a kill, is directly responsible for them winning this round. Sentinels continued to use this combo in the grand final against Gen G. They also used it to fight for B-long control, similar to Paper Rex, but used the Gekko flash more as a trap tool on certain timings rather than to gain immediate control. Now you know why the second initiator with Gekko is always a flash initiator. Gekko's flash is an incredibly unique tool, which can help your team gain important control. But to be honest, Lil Bro is by far the most game-changing piece of utility that he has. We saw so many difficult rounds this year won by Wingman's spike plants and defuses, because this one piece of utility completely flips the meta on its head. I looked at how often teams planted the spike with a Gekko on their team, compared to every other initiator. Looking at all rounds as far back as 2023, the VCT average for spike plant percentage is around 66%, and Gekko beats that average by more than 3.5%. Here are all the initiators for comparison, and you can clearly see that Wingman is doing his job and ensuring that the spike is being planted more often for his team. But let's also take a look at the tactical impact that Wingman provides that can't be captured with stats. The main advantage that Wingman provides for attackers is that they can position more freely when planting the spike. The most obvious example is Sasi's crazy clutch against Loud at Masters Madrid. By sending Wingman to plant all the way from defender spawn, Sasi can simultaneously reposition, and Loud aren't necessarily a careless team, but they aren't expecting this because it's so different from what's normally possible. Sasi's positional advantage earns him a kill, but now Loud also have to actually defuse the bomb, and this gives him enough of an opportunity to steal a round from his old teammates.
5 HP drop down, backing away, now wide, and sprayed them through!
Sasi actually pulled this off multiple times and against Loud, like this other 1v3 clutch during the America's Kickoff Grand Final. Sasi sends Wingman to plant on B while he takes deep market control. This allows him to hear all 3 rotators in spawn and take the perfect flank timing. Against Gekko, playing the numbers advantage as a defender is no longer that simple, because even though you have numbers, you now have to deal with an incredible positioning disadvantage. This should help you all realize that positioning is basically everything in Valorant, and freeing up a player from planting the bomb can create a massive snowball effect. Paper X picked up Gekko on Ascent, and in this round, you can see them initiating the plant all the way from market. This allows something to maintain market control from an off angle, and you can see that Sadhak is definitely not expecting him to be so far up. Pressuring Loud early in market eventually forces them to waste more time regrouping in spawn, and the compounding effects from Wingman planting the bomb pretty much won this round for Paper X, if not for these insane heroics from QCK. Gen G also adopted Gekko and played it on Icebox, and in this clip against Sentinels in the grand final, Lakia sent Lil Bro to plant while remaining in a safe position near yellow. The Viper wall runs out of juice, and Sentinels take that exact timing to push, but Lakia gets an insane 4K spray down, and it's safe to say that this would have never been possible if Lakia was the one actually planting the bomb. Now, these are some pretty easy to understand cases, but let's talk about how this affects strategies as a whole. Nowadays, pro teams are much smarter than before, and always make sure to play around key objectives like that spike plant timing. This is exactly why a strategy like the fast flood retake has become a massive part of every team's setup on defense. There's basically no downside for defenders to take this flood timing, because one player is guaranteed to be out of the picture or just in a bad spot to be hit with utility. We've seen multiple VCT teams abuse this plant timing, and every single modern day defense relies heavily on this strategy. In fact, Sentinels are amazing at the fast flood, and Gekko's kit plays a big part in pulling it off. In my last video, we saw numerous times where NRG are planting the bomb, and Sentinels use this as a cue to disrupt the plant with utility for the fast flood. In this clip, Ethan on Skye is immediately forced into a terrible position and punished for being the one to plant the bomb. Now just imagine if this was Wingman planning, and Ethan was freed up to be the world champion player he is. Well, we don't really have to imagine, because we saw Gen G in this exact same position multiple times during the grand final against Sentinels, except they actually had Gekko to help them. Going back to Icebox, but this time on A site, we can see Lakia sending Wingman up to Nest to plant the bomb. Look at him jumping up those boxes. Sentinels use the plant as a cue to run their fast flood again, but because Wingman is planting this time, nobody on Gen G needs to put themselves in real danger. Look at all the utility thrown by Sentinels to catch absolutely nobody. Now Sentinels are the ones in a terrible position, and this one interaction, which was never possible without Wingman, causes them to lose the entire round. Suddenly, with the introduction of Gekko, the fast flood strategy, which is proven to be effective, also becomes way more risky for defenders to pull off. Even Sentinels, the team who are pushing the Gekko meta forward, can still be outplayed by another Gekko, which just goes to show how much the Gekko meta can still develop. It's funny to see that even small habits, like this Viper Molly lineup that John QD throws from spawn, can be rendered completely useless by a Wingman plant. Take this really interesting situation, for example, between Karmine Corp and FPX. FPX's Wingman is sent to plant, so Narrate throws his own Molly to try and kill Wingman. Well, the Molly was thrown too late, so that's all there is to it, right? Under normal circumstances, regardless of how fast this Molly is thrown, it's never a bad option to throw it. Against a real player planting the spike, it's actually better to be a bit late with a Molly, so the planting player has a tough decision to cancel or not. But in this case, Narrate's Molly only has the chance to deny the plant from Wingman, and regardless, the bomb is going to be in a retrievable location, so it's now hard to tell if it's even worth it or not. In fact, Narrate has been throwing a lineup for back yellow, which has won them big retakes in the same match. So now he has to make a much tougher call on whether or not he should save his Molly for the retake or try and deny the plant. And in hindsight, Karmine Corp likely would have won this round by just playing a full retake together with his lineup. Let's not forget that Wingman can also defuse the spike, so the Gekko pick changes the standard post-plant and retake metas as well. I also looked at how often teams win retakes with Gekko on their team compared to any other initiator since 2023. And unsurprisingly, Gekko is also beating the VCT average in the retake department by about 1%. But how does it affect the larger strategies involved? At the pro level, we often see full post-plant setups which involve spamming the spike as well as annoying utility lineups. Similar to a player planting the spike, a player that has to tap or stick the bomb has their position compromised and is immediately in a lot of danger or subject to free damage. With Wingman, attackers playing a full post-plant setup have to pop utility early or spam and give away their position, forcing them into bad positions rather than the other way around. That's exactly how Sentinels ended up winning this Icebox retake against Loud, and for some hilarious reason, Loud seem to consistently be the ones who keep getting outplayed by Lil Bro. Here's a funnier clip from the Sentinels vs G2 match, where G2 are in a post-plant setup on Sunset A site. Zekken starts to stick the defuse before Wingman can even get on the bomb, and G2 peek and kill Wingman, possibly thinking that they stopped the defuse, but he wasn't even on the bomb to begin with, giving Sentinels a free round. Obviously, this plant spot sucks, and this interaction probably wouldn't have changed the outcome of the round, but it's still a good and unique example of how much pressure Wingman puts on attackers trying to play a traditional post plant. This is only the very beginning of Gekko's journey in the meta, so I'm super excited to see how teams will start to incorporate him more. Admittedly, I also looked at Gekko's post-plant stats since 2023, and they were far worse than every other initiator as well as the VCT average. Now, this is something I definitely didn't expect, and doesn't really match with the theory behind Gekko, where his utility can be used to take site, then recycled for the post-plant. I think it will take time for teams to create different entry paths for Gekko so he can properly recycle his utility for the post. And at that point, I can definitely see some defending teams actually fighting to prevent Gekko from picking up his stuff again as well. But I think this will still happen much further down the line. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and I'd appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm in the process of taking a closer look at some of the grand final games from Madrid, so stay tuned for a video on that. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.